Brianna J here with a highly requested video. And when I say highly requested, I mean it. You all sent me messages, left countless comments, sent me DMs, you all sent me smoke signals, you all sent me messages with birds to do this video. And what you all didn't know is that I already had it planned to go. I knew you all would want to see me do this video because I did the Natasha Denona ranking video and so many of you all said that you found that video helpful. So of course I had to do Pat McGrath because duh. In this video I'm going to be ranking my Pat McGrath palettes from my least to most favorite. Now this was very hard for me to do and I want to let you all know something before we get into the ranking process. There are no duds in Pat McGrath's line. Like no duds. She does not miss. Auntie Pat is the Beyonce of the beauty industry. The LeBron James, if you will. The GOAT. She doesn't miss. This ranking is done solely based off of my color preference. In addition to color preference, I rank these palettes based off of cohesiveness to me and its functionality and uniqueness within my collection. But honestly, I love them all. They all are special. They all are unique. I feel like Pat McGrath has definitely changed the game as far as the uniqueness that she has offered. Before she launched these palettes, I had never seen anything like this in an eyeshadow form. But basically, I really don't even like putting this out in the universe, but for whatever reason, I was going back through and rebuying my Pat McGrath palettes. I never want to have to do that unless I run out of them, so I'm going to knock on wood. But if for any reason I ever had to restart my Pat McGrath eyeshadow collection, again, I have to knock on wood. This is the order in which I would buy them. So from the least to the most favorite, I would start at the most favorite and then work my way down. But trust and believe, I'm going to have all of these palettes in my collection. All right? Let's start off with my least favorite. And this one is a mini Mothership palette. This one is the La Vie en Rose palette, the little baby one. So I'm going to say that this palette is my least favorite because I really don't wear colors like this that often. And I know that's going to surprise you because you all know I love purple. Like purple is one of my things. But honestly, the pink and the purple and the electricness of them, I honestly don't use it as much as I thought I was going to. Whenever I use this eyeshadow palette, I have to use it with another eyeshadow palette. I really don't like all of these colors together. So basically, this is just a palette full of like lid shades or like inner tear duct highlight colors because I really don't wear colors like this all together because it reminds me of the 80s. But it's a pretty palette, it's well formulated, but I really just don't wear pink and purple and gold all together all the time. So this palette really isn't that functional for me. I feel like I just ripped off a band-aid. Next on the list is another mini Mother palette. This one is the Mothership Subliminal Platinum Bronze palette. And this one ranks next as my next to least favorite because this palette is very cool toned, it's very muted. As you all can see, I have a very prominent golden undertone to my skin. So a lot of times colors like these just read a little bit too dull on my complexion. Granted, I do like these colors for particular looks, but on a day-to-day basis, if I am wanting my eyes to pop, if I am trying to sparkle and dazzle and shine, for me, I'm not going to reach for this palette because these colors are just blah on me. So my third least favorite palette is the Metamorphosis palette. This one is again a mini Mothership Subversive palette. So this palette was formulated really beautifully. 130% I give my stamp of approval on saying that these eyeshadow colors are very metallic, they're bold, and they're gonna pop. But whenever I was doing my initial review for this, I compared it to another Pat McGrath palette, the Decadence palette that I already had in my collection and I was already happy with it. If I didn't have Decadence palette, I think that this would rank higher. This is the Mothership-Sublime Bronze Temptation palette. So I like this palette. I think that it's really pretty, but it's also very safe with a few pops of colors. So in this palette we have the browns, then we have that pop of blue, tealish type color, and then the most interesting thing about this palette to me is that there's a burgundy type color in here. When you're looking at it in the palette, it just looks normal. It's regular, degular, schmegular. But when you swatch it though, it's special. Overall, I don't really feel like the colors in this eyeshadow palette are special. They're good, but not really special and memorable. If I was wearing this palette on my eyes and then I didn't have that burgundy type color or this greenish type color, I don't feel like anybody is gonna say, oh my gosh, what eyeshadows do you have on your eyes? I need to know right now. Like, they're pretty, but you know what I mean? Another mini Mothership palette. And I know y'all are like, dang, Kelsee, like, do you just not like the mini Motherships? Here's what I'm gonna say to this. I love the mini Mothership palettes, but the mini Motherships cannot hold a candle to the big Mothership palette. So this palette is next on the list. This one is the Mothership Subliminal Dark Star palette, which I really like this palette. Out of all of her new launches of the mini palettes, this one was my favorite just because I felt like this one was so different. I love the tones of it. It's unconventional. It's colors that you really wouldn't think to pair together. And I thought it was really interesting and cool to look at. I love the look that I came up with using this palette. I feel like this palette really can transition well over the seasons. I can see myself using this in the fall, in the winter, and then maybe even some in the spring. Okay, I'm gonna give the mini ones a break and I'm gonna move into one of the large Mothership palettes. And next on my list is the Mothership 1, the #1 Subliminal palette. This packaging just slays me every time. At this point, I think everybody has seen the Mothership palettes, but baby, this is art. Really, really pretty palette. This is a very difficult decision to place this palette here on the list. So if she took away all these colors, I wouldn't miss them. I just like these 4. Next, we have another Mothership mini palette. And I know you're like, what? You ranked a big Mothership palette under a mini Mothership palette? Yes, I did. And that's because this palette is a staple for me. I love this palette. If I'm wanting to do a look that is beautiful, that's going to complement my complexion, I'm picking up this palette. It's easy. These eyeshadows blend very well. The Bronze Ambition is lit. Here are the colors of this palette. I feel like they all complement each other. I can do an entire look using this palette. And if I am packing to go somewhere and I want to do a simple eye look, I know I can depend on this. Ride or die. Ride or fly. Ride by. No, I'm just kidding. So next on the list is the Decadence eyeshadow palette, and this palette is really special to me because I actually received this in the mail on my birthday this year. So this palette is so sentimental because I feel like Pat McGrath sent it to me on my birthday on purpose. But this one, I believe, is the only palette out of all of these that you can no longer get your hands on. But if you did miss out on this palette, like I said, the Metamorphosis palette is close and it does have a few shades from this palette in it. This palette, this palette, this palette, this palette. It doesn't have any of the pressed glitter duochrome shades in it. This is all her shimmers. All of these colors glide on so smoothly. They're so beautiful. They're so metallic. And okay, that was weird. I just sniffed that way too long. But anyways, this is one of her only palettes that has a scent to it. These are vanilla scented. Okay guys, so we have gotten down to the top 3 Pat McGrath palettes, and these 3 palettes are so special to me. This was so difficult picking which one was going to be number 1, number 2, and number 3, but I had to be fair, so a decision had to be made. Number 3, the Mothership 2 Sublime palette, and this is a palette that I was not going to get at first. When these palettes first launched, I tried my hardest not to buy this palette, but once I saw this gold eyeshadow, it was OV. This gold shade and this green shade in this palette, stunners. I mean, I love all the colors, but that gold and that green just kill it. They're so pretty, it makes you sick. It's like, oh my gosh, you just gag, you live, you die, you breathe, and you're like, whoo! That's what I call an eyeshadow. So this palette has been in the #1 slot for a minute, all right? Just until recently, it was bumped from that #1 spot. So this one is the Mothership 3 Subversive palette. And this is what started it all with me with Pat McGrath. And when she initially launched these palettes, this was the one that I was going to buy. I was just going to stick with this one because I didn't need 3 of the palettes, or so I thought. These palettes are so expensive and I'm just going to pick one. 2017, Kelsee said. And then when I saw the other ones, I knew in my heart I had to have them, and I know that I've made the right decisions. But this palette is still my first love with Pat McGrath. It's so interesting to look at. These colors have so much depth, and they're so freaking beautiful. Still one of my favorites. Woo, my heart is beating so fast, I don't know why. So coming in at number 1 on my least to most favorite Pat McGrath palettes is none other than her latest and greatest creation, the Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction Palette. And when Pat McGrath makes her list of things that she did, she can add this and tell herself that she did that. Mother outdid herself. She created the most beautiful palette known to man, woman, dog, cow, sheep, frogs. If you can name a prettier palette, leave it down in the comment section. I'll wait because I've not seen one prettier. Look at that. Look at that. Patty. Honestly, she did it. She included every element that you need in a palette. It has your highlight color, transition, outer V colors, several different lid color options. It has a holographic looking white gold. All of these eyeshadows look like they're just gonna pop off of your eyes. Like, that's all I got. So that's my order with Auntie Pat. Honestly, that was very difficult for me to do. Like I said, I love all of my palettes. But if I absolutely had to sit down and do this, this is my order. This is what I'm going to choose. But I promise you, you cannot go wrong with any of these palettes. Because we like her, and we like her too, and we like her, and we like her too. Like, I love all my palettes. I promise you I do. Please let me know down in the comment section what your favorite Pat McGrath palettes are. Rank them from least to most favorite. I am dying to know you all's order. I know this is going to be so hard. But you know what's even harder? How is Pat McGrath gonna top herself? Because every time I think she's not gonna top herself, she comes back with that hot fire every single time. So I'm looking forward to reading you all's comments. I will catch you all in my very next video. Let me know what you want to see from me next. And I will see you very soon. Smooches. Bye.